All right, hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Brim Fishing Project. This is the monthly report for March 2025, and with me I have Mr. Brett Geddes. Welcome back to the show, mate.
If you don't mind, Deethy, it's Mr. Hard on Soft, if you care to
This
see.
this is what I've been told.
This is- hey, Deethy, before we launch into that, this is potty number 3.0. And,
Yep.
mate, I look forward to this once a month only, but it tends to be the highlight of my month. So, looking forward to what transpires.
Exactly, mate. We got a bunch to get through. I think probably more than we can fit in. I think we'll have too much, which is good. This is good. What I'm going to do, Brett, I'm going to roll the intros, and then we're going to get into. We might start with the calendar, see what's happening over the next month.
Welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target brim on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite brim competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here's your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
Righty.
All right. Like I said, what we might do is just run through what's coming up in the calendars. There's a lot going on in the competition area. As you'd be aware, Gippsland Lakes has just been, as we're recording this, the Gippsland Lakes ABT has just been run and won. And we can come back to that. It was one on
Oh.
a lure I wasn't expecting. Have you been paying attention?
I've actually went down and joined the boys on day one of
Good.
the
So,
ABT down at the Hollands Landing end anyway, and yeah, caught up with a few, but I'll expand on that shortly.
yeah, we'll come back. We'll come straight back to that. So I guess the 1st of March. So this will be round two of the Hobie Kayak Series. It'll be run and won by the time this episode comes out, but it still falls in March. So we are down at Bem River. I can't wait for that. Then the next weekend, we're off to action fishing tournaments in Pittwater on the Saturday the 8th. And for all the keen guys in Sydney, they can also fish the New South Wales Tournament Series in Botany Bay on the 9th. So big weekend for Sydney. Then we have a week off, best I can tell, and we're headed down to round one of the Brim Masters South Australia, and they are on the Glenelg River at Nelson, March 22, 23. On that same weekend, we have two other comps running. We've got the Vic Brim round one at Meetung. So it's the Meetung Brim Classic on the 22nd and 23rd of March. I think they're at, I can't remember, 20 or 25 years of the Vic Brim Classics. So big
Mm.
year for them. And then in Western Australia, while all this is going on, they are also having their first boat round at a Walpole. I think that's how you say it, on the 22nd of March. And then to round out the month, on the 29th, 30th, ABT is headed up to the Clarence River or the Maclean. No, the Clarence River at Maclean. So big month. We've got a couple of ABTs, Hobies, all sorts of stuff going on. So let's dive back into the ABT, mate, that's been going on for the last couple of days.
Oh, jeepers, it was a change in the sense that and since we've last talked, we had not a significant flood, I'd say, but an important one in that two or three rivers came up to minor flood,
Hmm.
particularly the Mitchell River. It went whoosh up and then pretty much straight back down again, but it did colour up the water a lot. And prior to that, it was fishing. I think we spoke about this last potty. It was fishing unbelievably well, but that threw the event up in the air as far as what a lot of plans were for those comp anglers. And it had a little bit of an impact. So that was the Mitchell River area and maybe down to Meetung as well and Paynesville. But up more so around the Hollands Landing end, it didn't have as much impact because the Latrobe River didn't go into flood, but the Avon did, but didn't quite impact that area. But there were big winds to complicate the
Mm.
whole thing. So,
Yeah.
Deethy, this was interesting because I was fishing it up until a week and a half, 2 weeks before the actual comp, and I just kept throwing my hands in the air and saying, geez, everyone's going to smash fish. And then these winds got up, these big easterlies, and turned it quite, not muddy, but coloured up. And day to day changed. So one day was good, one day was bad. As in, the clearer it is, the better you can lake fish and the better the conditions are in the Hollands Landing area. And yeah, it put a little cloud into the whole scenario and everyone
Mhm.
was watching keenly. But regardless, Theethy, there was a lot of bream caught. I would say numbers and sizes down on years gone by because of those conditions I just spoke about.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, this has just been finished, and I've watched the two winners' reports on the ABT YouTube channel, and the lures that won surprised me.
In what sense, mate? What did you think?
They had the Daiwa MR, what was it? The Daiwa Spike 44
Spike.
MR,
Yes. Yep.
and that was in the boated division, and in the non-boated division, they had the
I should remember. I didn't see that interview. I saw Daryl Baird getting interviewed
yeah,
with the hard body. Let me talk about that while you jog your memory.
yeah. I work out what it is. I know what it
Yeah.
is. I can picture it.
Daryl, like me, he lives on the shores of Gippy Lake, so he knows this area and where he won the comp from. He knows it particularly well. It's funny, I don't often bump into. I don't think I've ever bumped into Daryl, and yet I'm on the water at least as much as him, probably twice as much. Him being a sheep farmer, he probably doesn't get out as much as me. But I actually saw where he was fishing. I wasn't far away from him, and I
Right.
saw his boat in the distance, and I saw him. I was on the water early-ish, probably about 7:30, but I saw a boat over there, and I think it might have been Tony Petty. He said, "Oh, that's Daryl over there." I said, "Oh, yeah, Betty." He was over there for an awful long time, and I says, "Boys, he's up to no good. If he's not catching brim, he's going to be scooting from here to there." And there was quite a few boats getting around up and down the straits, a few off to Tom's Creek, a few over to Blonde Bay, and a few here and there. So I could see that there were a few that weren't getting their sizes or bags, whatever. But Beardy, he did move from that spot. It was a fair way off. It was about 2 Ks away, but I could tell where he was. And I won't reveal it either, Daryl.
I'm going to
So,
ask him. Don't worry about that.
oh, I think he'll tell you. He will. I reckon he'll say it was out in the lake from Hollands. That's what he'll say.
Fair
And
enough. We'll see. And
we'll see.
I'll put up the lure. I'm not sure I've got the color, but this is the lure that he was running,
Ah,
which
yeah.
was the Dial Infeed Spike
Yes.
MR.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's the right color, but it was a greeny color.
It was, and it had teeth marks all over it. The one I think he retired the day one lure,
Yep.
and he lost 2 or 3 on the second day,
Yeah, that
fishing
sounds.
4 pounds. So that was, and in 2 foot of water, very shallow.
Oh, there you go.
And got some great fish. That really 6 kilo bag in any comp. And it sounds silly to say, but that's probably a kilo off what the best of Gippy can do and usually does. 13 and 14 kilo bags are not uncommon in the Gippy Lakes. So uh, I'm saying it was not down a bit, but there weren't the numbers there. And just for the record, I fished the same sort of water, very shallow, 1.5 foot, 2 foot, a little bit of colour, and cleaner water too. There were patches. And to my way of reckoning, they just weren't there in numbers, the bigger fish, where I was. And I had 2 or 3 or 4 other anglers fishing around me. And I'll say that was Alex Franchuk and Tony Petty. And there was a few others there. I think Daniel Kent was there too. I said hello to him. A few others. And yeah, they all weighed in reasonable to okay bags, but we all encountered the same sort of thing on that day. They just, a lot of fish caught. I caught a lot of fish. I caught 25, 30 brim for the day, but just couldn't quite. My best was 39, a couple of 37s, lost a 40, say. And that took some doing. That took 6 or 7 hours worth. So I put a fair day in, and I could tell it was slow going, and I was interested to see how the other guys would have gone, and it was a bit of a struggle. And I think even Betsy, Declan was up in the Straits, I think. And I think on all counts, he got fish, but not the trucks we're used to. So, look, it
Yeah.
was a really, really challenging event right across the board.
Yeah.
And I see Mario, I think he got the biggest fish, Mario Vukic, at 1.7.
Okay.
So that tells you there was some good fish around. So
100%.
really
And then the non-boater, I can't think of his name now at the moment, but
Harry Young?
no, it was
No.
Kraus was his
Oh,
surname.
that's right, it was too. Harry
Can't
was,
think of his first name.
yeah.
Sorry about that, buddy, but he was throwing one of these.
So
Here
it
it
wasn't
comes.
wasn't
Here
a
it
hard
comes.
body.
Yeah,
Oh, the dunk.
the
Okay.
dunk. He
Right.
was showing the dunk,
Yeah.
and I think I've got the color right there, but something similar. So the two lures very similar. I know that. Yeah, I know that the boated division was one in 2 foot of water, which was
Oh,
interesting.
yep.
And I'd expect if he's using a dunk, it was probably in the shallows as well.
Oh, look, it's been the real trend for the last 6, 7 weeks that I've been fishing the Gippy Lakes. I think I've made mention of that last potty. It's just been sensational, shallow
Mm.
water stuff. Contradictory to that, though, on that day, I went and threw some blades with a mate I happened to bump into that wasn't doing the comp, but I was
Mm.
good to catch up with him. His name's Mick Caulfield.
Okay.
And Mick does some filming and stuff he does it with AFN, with Bill Klassen, sorry, just had a
Right. Okay.
little breakdown there. And yeah, so he's actually done a film there with Bill in the Straits and blading. And so we both caught fish together. We spoke and fished together for about an hour and a half, whatever. And we were getting the odd broom, and he got some good ones, 36, 37s, but there weren't the big ones around. It sounds real cheeky to say that most of us, I reckon, on that day caught 20, 30 plus brim and still found it tough. So,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
rough day, man.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah. Interesting. It was and yeah, I didn't tip it. I thought that the anglers normally do. They usually go far and wide and find them. And they did eventually,
Yeah.
but not to the extent and the numbers I predicted. Every comp's different.
Okay. Well,
Every comp, yeah.
mate, we're going to put you on the spot like we like to do. When I say we, I mean me. We've got the Hobie Comp coming up in Gippsland on next week, so Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, I think.
Mm.
Mate, I need you to pick the winning lure and the winning structure. Have a guess.
Yeah. Oh, winning lure. It's going to be hard body, shallow water again. It's because it will clean up in between now and then.
Yep.
And the weather prediction from here to the comp, fantastic. Low wind, a
Yep.
little bit of easterlies, but no big winds to churn all that water up like it has been. And the Mitchell will drop and clean up. So I'm predicting that it'll be not back to where it was 2 and 3 weeks ago, but it will be another shallow water scenario.
Okay.
And I reckon the hard bodies, yeah, you just can't go. And you got to let the fish tell you if you're fishing the edges for the first 2 or 3 hours and you're struggling, and even on a pre-fish day, I suppose most of them are getting there for the pre-fish. I'm not sure about that. There is a pre-fish day, isn't there?
Yeah, no, there's no
Yeah.
pre-fish ban for this event because it clashed with the
Oh, that's
ABT.
right.
So
Yes, got it. Yeah, some people might come down for the long weekend, make it like 2, 3, 4
yeah,
days out of it. I reckon, Deethies.
I would have done that for sure. I would have fished
Mm.
3 days in a row, 4 days in a row. So
So that's interesting. That puts different spin on it too. So yeah, I reckon everyone will have that opportunity to find out where they're sitting, and I still maintain they'll be in shallow or shallowish water because the water temps are still up,
yeah,
and
okay.
we've got a bit of heat between now and then. And I'd still predict that'll happen. And as far as the structure, it'll be shallow. It'll be the shallow banks, but there'll be that Mitchell River out the front on the reef, and there'll be the odd angler that will go to Paynesville and fish the structure there because, as we've talked about before, it's got more structure than the whole of the Gippy Lakes.
Yeah, okay.
But I reckon too, there'll be a few that'll push up the Mitchell River.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been a bit of a revelation in that some bait anglers have been getting a lot of big bream in that river. So here's one, and a good tip is that I think with that flow regime, it's pulled a lot of big bream in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that means you can fish the drop-off rock walls.
Okay.
Yep. Which is, I'm talking rock walls that drop down to 6, 8, 9 foot fairly quickly so yeah, that'll be that. And the sounder and all the technology is going to reveal that. Everyone's got the tech. And I think once people work out how and where to sound them, could reveal a lot. The snags out the front of the Mitchell River have always been a highlight. Flood, clear water, regardless, nearly any
Okay.
time of year.
Wow.
So that'll be for those who know it, they will target that. And for those who don't, they'll see anglers around that structure,
Yeah.
and they will suck in behind them and think, what are all those anglers doing down there?
100%. I think it's going to be interesting after the ABT. The Hobie guys get the foresight of being able to know what that comp was run on. So I'm sure that there was a lot of Daiwa spikes ordered today,
Oh yeah.
as well as dunks. People will be pulling them back out of their boxes now. But then when we go to Bem River, it's going to be a clean slate,
Interesting.
except it's been opened. So once again, that's a change, a big change.
And it takes a week or two to settle down.
Mm.
And that's would have transpired between now and then. That's happened. Bem, as of today, even this good weather coming, would be fishing exceptionally well. I'm tipping,
Yeah.
and I think it'll even things up in the sense that because it's low, it won't. Because sometimes you need to fish right hard up on the edges, right out on the margins, and where the tea tree meets the water, and that can be a bit of a challenge, I reckon, when
Mm.
Bem's high.
Yeah.
But when it's low, I think it does pull the fish into the main body and definitely the channel. But the water would have cleaned up. It would have, it's going to, if anything, less water, easier to find the fish, surely. It's,
Yeah. That would be my thoughts as well. Like they have to sulk in the deep for a little while. So they would have been there. It's whether they stayed there. So
historically, they do that. But it
yeah.
usually only takes a week. Some say two, but I reckon a week.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be the usual BEM scenario. You're going to have to wade through big numbers of bream. And what a great problem to have. You're going to catch bream all day, maybe.
Yep. Let's
I
hope so.
think definitely. And it's just a matter of working out how to get those bigger ones. And gee, mate, I reckon you're nearly more qualified than me because having won a comp there not long back.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it, to think what would work and what wouldn't on the bigger fish? Interesting.
100%. Now,
You won't probably even open up on that because
no, I'll open up.
yeah,
This is what I was using last time. So this is the
yeah, I know that
out
one.
of the baby vibe out of
Yeah.
fishing.com with a little chin weight on the front. I'm not sure whether you can get
Oh, I
that.
can see it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Don't need
That's
the
a
chin weight.
significant bit of weight too, Deethy.
Yeah, that's the atomic ones.
Yeah.
So, and at that point in time, he didn't have the black ones in stock. So I'd got the gold ones. I'd gone to Bunnings and grabbed a can of spray paint and spray painted them black, and then dipped him in UV.
Ah. As in
So
a
not all of them.
UV scent or
No, UV
just
paint. There's a
UV
UV
paint?
dip. Put another coating on them. And it's funny. I may as well go into this. I was using one yesterday from that era that I'd taken down there, and I was throwing it on Tom Ugly's Bridge, which is my local, and I brained them there for a while. Well, not brained them. I got a few.
Yeah. Okay.
But all the paint was all chipped off it. It was showing the gold underneath, and the little chin weight on the front. This one's pretty new, but when the fish get it, you can see the teeth marks in it.
Oh, good one. I love
So
that.
so good.
Yeah. That is good. Yeah.
So
And what sizes, Deethy? Fish.
What size of fish?
Yeah.
Not really that big. I got a couple around that 30 fork mark. So 600 grammers. I got one at 34 fork. So probably 800 grams, more or less. And then a few smaller ones. But I was being a bit silly, and I was throwing the 3 pound.
Yeah.
And all the ones, it was an interesting day. We were fishing the top of the tide, myself and Mick Eddinghausen. And we're fishing the tops of the pylons, which are covered. They have this oyster growth all along the side, and the brim get up into that. And if you get your cast in there in the right spot, it'll drop down and something will eat it, typically.
Okay.
Now, when I got them on the top of the pylon, I was able to get them out. They took the lure and then swam away from the pylon. Great. Like I'm a genius. I'm on 3 pound. I'm catching all these fish, not losing any lures. How clever am I? Anyway, later in the day, and the tide started to rip. It was a run out tide by then. And I thought, I'll fish deeper. Let's get down to the bottom. I could see him. I was running the active target, and we come back to that too. I was running the active target, and I could see them. I'm like, okay, they're on the bottom. They're on the bottom. So I throw down. I let the lure get down to the bottom. I load up, and it goes bing. And I did that 3 times just to test the theory.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting one out. But it was a good session, good mix of a couple of different things of being able to see them on the active target. So I know they're there. So it's one thing casting and not knowing whether there's a fish there, but seeing just the way they move across the bottom of the pylon. So the pylon had a straight column or a round column and down to the bottom a big pad, and you could see them just on top of the pad. So the idea is get it down to the bottom, and yeah, I was able to hook up on a few of the right ones.
That's interesting. And you got a lot of attention on the lure, like you missed a few, pricked a lot, and dropped
Yep,
or
I,
shredded a few.
I
And
shredded a few, but this is the dilemma. See, I could have thrown a lot heavier leader, but with the tidal flow, that would have been trickier in terms of the
sensing
tide
the
would have
bite.
pulled it away.
Yep. Yeah.
So I don't know. I tell you what, it was a fun day. I caught a few fish, and I used not only the black one, but when I lost that one, I donated that one. I went to the cockle color,
Oh, yeah.
which I actually think was better in that scenario. I think I was looking at the oysters on the side of the pylon, which I think that maybe the fish are thinking that's what's falling. If you've got brim chewing on the side of the pylon, are they breaking bits of oyster shell off that fall to the bottom and then the other fish grab them? I don't know.
Yep.
So, but
Definitely.
it definitely worked. So,
Do you often get it, Deethy, where you're snagged up and you're thinking, how hard am I going to pull on this? And next thing a brim grabs it?
yeah, often no, but sometimes yes.
Sometime? Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes, yeah.
Cool.
And I was fishing super light, so I can't give it too much.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you've really just got to get to a different angle to pull it off those
Yeah.
oysters. It's not that big a deal. What I was liking, and I traditionally I've not been a fan of straight through 3 pound. It's not been my thing.
Too
Like I don't,
soft, too
too
spongy.
doughy.
Mm.
But recently I've just caught a lot of fish on it. I've meant to get the name of the rod. It's an in-feet, one of the later model in-feet rods and a little 2000 reel with straight through fluorocarbon on it. And I've been really enjoying it. I've just caught fish. So when you catch fish, it's fun.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you think. Is if the fish are jumping on,
That's
means
right.
that means something.
Yeah.
And that delayed reaction with the sponginess up through the fluorocarbon could be an asset.
It could, yeah.
In that, if when you're using braid, you get that you're pulling too quick. Sometimes
That's
you
right.
let the fish grab the lure and turn with it. So quite often when you're sight casting, especially I reckon surface brim, people tend to see the brim, grab the lure, and they want to pull straight away. I maintain that you've got to let the fish turn. And then
Okay.
you pull the lure into it, you're pulling the hooks into his mouth, not when he grabs it, here's the lure and he goes to grab it and you're pulling away.
Yeah,
Let him
right.
grab it and turn, so you're pulling into his mouth.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a little, I'm not saying it works every time, but I think
Mm.
sometimes just slowing down that first reactionary lift and sometimes let them hook themselves.
Yeah,
And maybe that
that's,
could be an asset to what you're going through with 3 pound right through down deep.
yeah,
They're hooking
yeah,
themselves, and maybe that's a bit of an art in itself.
that's it. When I first started fishing the baby vibe, I fished them totally unweighted. I was fishing the same structure, and you would just have to cast it up current as far as you needed to, and then wait for it to get down. But what I found at that point in time is if I got it to the bottom, I'd get a hit. So you just count it down. You might have to count to 25 or 30 and then try to manage your line in and around everything.
So that's why you've put the weight on, is to get into the zone
Yeah.
a heap quicker, and that's going to result in more fish, more hookups, more shreddings, but more action, more.
Yeah.
I like it.
So,
20
yeah.
countdown 20s. That's a long time. You're fishing
Yeah.
deep.
I
You're
often do
fishing
that.
6, 7 meters.
Yeah. Yeah. That's often do that
Mm.
with the unweighted ones. I think they're about 5 or 6 seconds a meter.
Yeah, right.
So if you've got 6 meters, you're counting to 30.
Mm.
So yeah, once again, so that's just the one without the weight, and I still like them.
Yeah.
And the other debate coming into BEM is one hook or two hook. So because these will foul,
Yeah.
but when I fished BEM and did well, I fished both singles and doubles
Yep.
or two hooks, and I found I got more hookups. I could feel them rattle on the other lure, and you just wouldn't get as many of them. So more conversions with the two hooks.
Okay. So they grabbing the front of the lure maybe more? Couldn't ascertain that.
I couldn't comment too much on that, but
Being
yeah,
a small lure, hard to really work that one out. Mm.
yeah.
Okay. That's you've had some fun. You've been fishing.
I've been
And
fishing.
good,
Went out
yeah.
with I spent a day with Carl State.
Okay.
So he's one of the members of the collective, and he's
Mhm.
very well tuned in with active target and Lowrance and all that sort of stuff.
Learnt
Honestly,
more on that, I gather.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was good spending some time with him, and as it turned out, he needed a head unit for the front of his boat, so we took my Lowrance Pro 10 and put that on the front. So we played with all the settings, and I got to tell you, when it came back, it was better. And then I had to play with the active target yesterday. Yesterday on the bridge, yeah, it was really good. I could definitely see fish, and like I said, the confidence that you get when you know there's fish there
Yeah.
versus sometimes you don't know.
Wow. Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
that's another string in your bow now, isn't it?
that's it. I need a little bit more. I'm thinking about heading down to St George's Basin on the weekend to fish some different water, some more similar water to Bem,
Bit more
so that
shallow and yeah.
yeah, see if I can see the fish. I think
Mm,
that would be pretty cool to be able to be drifting across the basin and see the fish moving around as you drift. So we'll
mm.
see.
Very interesting. Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's good news. And speaking of openings, as we've discussed, Ben was opened up, and that was done by I think it was done by the East Gippsland Catchment Authority. That one. So that was an opening, I think, 2 weeks ago, two and a bit now, and when this goes down, nearly three. But Meetung opened up as well, only 2, 3 days ago, a week ago, when
Yeah.
people were watching this. So that. And that was done by, it started off with four people with shovels, unidentified people, saw them down there, and then a person that was living above the lake kept watching. And it was at 11 o'clock at night. They were joined by 3, 4, 5 others, and they finally cracked it. It was
Yeah. Right.
about 11 or 12 o'clock. So people will say, "Oh, that was an illegal opening," but it was slated to be opened by the catchment authority. That was quite well known. But
Yeah.
I think there were a few locals that said, "Bugger that, let's get into it. Come on." And I think they started. And there was a low tide, so that made it easier in the sense that when you're digging a channel, it will run downwards. If it was high tide, it's hard to dig it out.
Yeah.
So it just so happened that time of night, and so it bust open and it fully drained out, and the entrance was, by all reports, over 100 meters wide. And
Wow.
it was a mountain of water, Deethy.
Wow.
It had filled up as high. I think the highest I've ever seen it,
Yeah.
and that's only 25, 30 years, but probably higher, and who knows, time gone by. But it was an ugly flooding in the sense that up at now and now, they were no one could access the boat ramp. The caravan park was compromised. There was a lot going on with it. There was a
Yeah.
lot of outcry, and that's been going on for 6, 8, 9 months nearly.
Right.
So it was a big win for everyone in that regard. The scary part was, would it impact on the fish? Because there can be that dirty water, that black water scenario where
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
deoxygenated water can come down.
You have a fish kill.
I haven't heard a thing so far. So fingers crossed, all good. I had a
Mm.
mate fish it, Mick Caulfield. He fished it today, and he said, "Don't go. It is too early. I wouldn't have gone, but maybe he was passing by. It's Bem. It'll take a week. It'll probably take more because this is a significant flood
Sure.
down to the water area is going to probably go down by at least a half.
Yeah. Wow.
The actual volume probably more, but surface area, yeah. So it'll take some time, but it will come back as good and probably better than ever.
Yeah.
And in the big scheme of things too, Deethy, it's just as well that the comp that was meant to be the Hobie comp was going to be at Meetung, wasn't it? It's changed to Gippy Lake, so that's been another double big win. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. So just as well, because it won't be fishing. In fact, you could struggle to access the lake
Yeah.
with the Hobies. Probably not so much down the front, but anyway, it's been a big win. So yeah, two big openings. Stand by in 2, 3 months. There'll be lots of chatter about tyres, and
Mm.
let's hope in not so long future there'll be more chat about BEM, because that looks like
Yes.
going to be a good comp.
I
Should
hope
remain
so.
open. Should
I
remain
hope
open.
so.
Mm.
All right, mate. The other day, I went to my mailbox
Yeah,
and I got a little surprise.
I thought you might.
Did you?
Yep.
I got this letter. You see
World
that?
champion angler. Looks like my writing.
It does look like your writing. It's got a lot of stamps on it.
It has. I had to make sure it got there.
And see
Look
the
at that.
sender?
Look at that smiley face.
How good is that? So I thought although I have a pretty good idea of what's in here, I thought I would save it and open it. We'll have a talk about it. What do you
Well, that
reckon?
was good. Okay. Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know you were going to save it up, but that's good.
Oh, I thought it was a nice idea. I was a bit excited.
This is like
Oh,
Christmas in February for you, mate.
it really is. Oh, look out.
Well, let's
All
hope
right.
it is. It could be ugliness within.
Oh, I think there's ugliness within. We've got a bee bag, and the hooks are through the bag into the wrapping.
Oh, okay. So they've been squashed up a bit. Hopefully
They've
they've
been
survived.
squashed up. So it's a little sneak peek.
Okay.
This is some of your best handiwork. I'm going to have to cut this.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I want it to be me worst because I think bad's better. I've been talking about this, haven't I? My ugly lures seem to be the best.
All right. I've got one out of the. I've got one. Oh, no. They're tied together.
Okay,
All
they've
right.
joined up.
Before I show it, there's a couple of characteristics of this.
Yeah,
So, first of all, W hooks,
of course.
and then a little bit of ugliness. Here
Look
we
at that.
go. A Brett
Look,
Geddes special.
that's
Hard on
pretty good
soft.
for
That's a tie. It's not too bad.
mate. It's pretty neat. I think I've excelled myself.
It looks
That's it, Deethy. You might have to pitch that one out. It's too nice.
too good.
It's too good, mate.
And
It's
it
yeah.
looks like a hurricane lure to me.
No, I wouldn't. I couldn't bring myself to cut the Twitch 40s or 50s up. It's
enough.
beyond me to do it. But I've had a heap of lures given to me recently, Brian Lazaro,
Oh, yeah.
and anyway, so I've been able to. Oh, I don't know what sort of lure that was. Someone will know it.
Yeah,
Um,
just the eye.
yeah,
I
it's
can't quite get it to focus perfectly. So, mate, this is the one.
that's
I'm
the
going to be
one.
dragging this through some ugly structure.
Oh yeah, it's nearly 100% snag proof. That thing.
Yeah.
I'll declare it, Deethy. You'll find that because of the doubles. Yeah, look at that. And great hookup because you've got that double hook right near the tail and it's
Yeah.
swinging. And it will foul up a little bit on the tail,
Yeah.
as people may well imagine, and I often get asked,
Yeah.
that wriggly tail, doesn't it? And it does. And quite often when you hook the fish, the hook and the tail are in its mouth, all hooked up and mangled up. And eventually the tail gets so compromised, it gets holes and tatters and gets ripped. And so you take the double hook off the back and pull the plastic off and renew it with a new one and glue it up.
And just go again.
Go again,
And,
mate.
and so basically, for anyone that hasn't seen it, you've got your favorite hard body lure.
That's focused. Good.
Cut it,
Yes.
cut the back off it.
Yep.
You've got, I'm not sure what you're using at the moment, a bit of wire or a hook.
Yeah, it's like off the old spines tackle. They had
Oh, yeah. I
it's
remember.
do you remember the spines tackle?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they went to Evolution as well. So anyway, I found those and I've doctored them up a bit, and I've jammed that into the body, glued that in, and out the back is the wire with a hookup point at the back, so I can put
Yeah.
another. And then you feed the lure up, glue him all up, and
Instant ugliness, beautifulness. But I have heard from people that not just you, that these things catch. So,
that's some guys in the collective, and namely Nick Jackson. He's made a few. He's been at it. Tony Petty's made about 10 or 12 of them.
Tony Petty.
He's seen him in action quite a bit actually with me.
All right.
Is that the other model?
That's the other one.
Oh, they're pretty similar. Yeah, okay. Gee, it's a bit pretty.
You like it?
Oh yeah. Let's. My idea, Deethy, was for you to have one of those, and maybe like raffle one for the collective, just
Okay.
to put it in hands of someone that might say, surely that can't catch fish. It's not that bad. I'm glorifying it a little bit because it is really just a jig head. It's another system of a jig head, really.
It is.
Pretty much. That's all
It is. It is. The W hooks. All right. So what we're going to do then is I was still reluctant because I like them,
Keep it.
but we'll share one with the collective. As we've said before, anyone that doesn't know, jump onto brimfishingproject. Get yourself a subscription. The next Zoom, if you're in the Zoom meeting, we're going to raffle that off and send that out to one of the people there. I think we're going to limit it to whoever's in the meeting so that we can see their happy face when they win that lure.
It is fun. Oh, hey, Deethy, maybe the prerequisite is that you have to fish at minimum 10-pound leader Like
Okay.
in the flavour of how I fish them.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't impose that on people. Anyway, that leave that up to the powers that be. But there was some other goodies in there, mate.
Yeah, mate. I've just pulled the next one out. Now, mate, I got to say, this is not the prettiest blade I've ever seen.
No, this is a given. That
It looks a bit rude.
it does look a little bit. It looks nearly septic.
So, so
So
basically, tell us about this. Tell us about how this was
uh,
manufactured.
I've got a good buddy that he happens to work in the field of stainless steel laser cutting.
Right.
And so he's been able to supply me with a heap of blanks and with the holes punched out and all, tiny little holes to put the clip in and to put the front doubles on. And then all I do is, quite simply, is glue a little bit of split shot on the back end of it. It took a lot of trial and error to work out where to put the split ring and how much and to get them to vibe. These vibe like I tell you what, they vibe like a hurricane lure in that as soon as you impart any action whatsoever, they vibe.
Yeah.
So you don't have to give them a good tweak, lift, or whatever. And I do tend to use the front hole. There's two holes there just for future reference. Sometimes I've got the weight not quite right and you use the back hole, whatever. That one might even have a bit of a chip out
Yeah.
of it in transition. Or it might, I reckon they might have every caught fish and I've just sent them off.
Maybe. There's nothing wrong with that. We
And
like
the
a proven lure.
and I have got now more nail polish than my beautiful bride. So that when I go and buy nail polish these days, I get some strange looks, and I just say to them, and there's some of the girls say, "You make lures, don't you?" Some of them already know. So how that works, I don't know. But anyway, so I have a bit of a joke with that. But I've got heaps and heaps of bottles of, and I use nail polish because it's easy to apply, but it's got good adhesion to the stainless. It actually works quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I can touch them up, and it's all good.
And okay. So I'm going to use this as a general blade. Like I can throw it
Yeah,
anywhere I throw a normal blade.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Beautiful.
I've
And why have you stuck with the W hooks?
Oh, just to make them more snag resistant, just to save 80, 70, 80% of my fishing is done with structure on the bottom or
Yeah.
some structure, not a lot, but some. They're particularly aimed at the Holland's Landing Straits, Seacombe area, and that's the best bream are hanging deep and yeah, with a fair bit of structure. So
Yeah.
they tend to ride through it pretty good.
Very
And
good.
the other thing too, Deethy, is this is an important one. I don't use the trebles because they can foul up a bit. You've used blades and they foul up, particularly a blade with two lots of trebles on them. Because I teabag them a lot and because I do the lift and lift up and down, they
Mm.
tend to foul up a lot. So you'll go brut, brut, and then it'll just go, it's fouled up already. One set of hooks, whether it's one treble or one double, I find it virtually never fouls up. And
Okay.
when I break them, I can change them out easy, swap them out real quick. And
Yeah. And you can also, we've spoken about this before, where you actually test it in a snag without the hooks on
yes,
and then swap them out real quick.
greatest trick ever. Fish them, no hooks, and get the bite. They'll often swim off with it. You'll know the difference because how often do we get hits and bumps on blades and we know they're fishing, they're not hooked up, and
Yeah.
they'll come again. And it's 100% deadly. That is the weirdest thing that I've come to grips with is that dropping them, fanning them into the middle of trees that are submerged 6, 8, 10 foot, whatever. You'd think there's no chance that you'd feel a bite or whatever. Every time you can feel that bite, and I just quickly put the hook on, and I'm going to say 19 times out of 20, they jump on it straight away because, see, they haven't been pricked. The
Yeah.
lure hasn't, no hooks, no pricks. So they just say, oh, I'll have another go at that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
And look out.
yeah, sometimes you hook them, or most times you do, but then just getting them out's another trouble. It's another thing. Yeah, so that's me blades, mate. And look, the downfall to them is that they chip a lot, and the weights come off a little. I could probably orchestrate and get a better idea, a better scheme on keeping the weights on, but yeah, they're so easy and quick and to patch up. I just live with that part. But so you'll probably lose a little bit of lead off them and colour and just do what you have to do with them to patch them up.
To sort them out. All right, mate. There was one more thing in this bag of goodies.
There was some hooks, was there?
Yeah, some hooks. So that's good. Just put them down as spare hooks. There's one more thing, one more manufactured bait. It's a
Oh,
little bit bait.
I can't remember. What else
Can't
did I?
remember.
No.
The bus.
Oh, that's right. I forgot I put that in.
Yeah,
That's the
look at this
homemade
goodness.
muss. Oh my God.
So
Look at that.
this is a real mussel shell
Tis.
that's been cleaned out
Yep.
and then glued back together with a set of stinger trebles right through it.
It's got
Right
the
through.
stinger hook. Yep. The two, and it's got the dangly black bits that I've put
Yeah,
through. Yeah. So
it's like a hairy muss.
like a hairy muss. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one. And
Yeah.
so that actual one has worked. I've had to patch that one up a couple of.
Yeah, I
It's
reckon it's
done.
got bite marks in it.
Oh, it's. I think it may even have a collapsed half a side on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It looks like it's been chewed.
Yes. Yeah. No,
I'm
it
not
has.
sure whether you
It's.
can, you probably, oh, you can see that a little bit there.
Yeah, it is too.
Yeah,
Well, that gives it a bit more of a
a bit more
realistic look.
character. And like I said before, I'm definitely going to throw this, but probably not in a comp. I think there's an argument to say that it's not
Yeah,
quite a
cool.
lure.
That was unreal, that one. I like that. Yeah,
So
because it's real.
it's real. How good is that? I can't wait to give that a throw. And I
Uh,
probably will throw it on heavier line because I only got one. I can't lose it.
I'll send you more. You just put the order in. Put.
Yeah,
Yep.
fair enough. All right, what we might do is we might run to one of our sponsors, mate. So fishing.com.au, your one-stop brim lure and tackle shop. Pick up the latest tackle, including Muscle Vibes, Cranker Crabs, OSP Bent Minnows, Z-Man Plastics, Eco Gear, lures, and Daiwa rods, reels, and tackle. Same day shipping. Shop where the world champion, the Australian champion, and the current ABT champion shops. Fishing.com.au, online or in store at shop 18 stroke 29 Kiora Road, Miranda. Now, mate, there is something very exciting happening.
Go on.
Mate, when I won the Worlds, I won it using two lures, but one in particular, and that is the Duo Bivy.
Oh,
So that's
right.
this little guy. It's a tiny little vibe. So very similar, not similar to the baby vibe, but similar sort of size. And some of the colors they've got out are unreal. But this particular color here, that was the one that I used. And I haven't been able to get it for about 5 years.
Ooh,
So super
those two.
excited to see these back on the shelves. And at $21, they're a couple of dollars more than what they were 5 years ago, but not obviously not ridiculous. I like the look of the black. I do orange on the bottom of a lure, so that looks pretty good. This one looks very good to me as well. So yeah, great range of bivvies there. And I'm told by the time this goes to air, they should be in stock if they haven't sold out. So there you go. Mate, I don't know how excited you are about that, Brett, but I'm pretty excited.
I love that pink coloured one. Jeepers, that's right up my aisle.
This one here.
Yes. Oh, that looks to me very sexy.
All
Oh,
right, mate.
oh,
I'll
I
make
love
sure
it.
one of those finds
Ooh.
its way to you, mate.
Oh, like that to me. And how do they vibe? I reckon I've used the bivvies a long time ago, but I can't remember their action off the
They're
bottom. Like,
they're a really tight shimmy. I think for a small lure, and I've not ever put weight on these, and I think it would be quite hard to weight them up, but they
mm,
do sink quite quickly, I think because of their profile for a light lure. But you're probably going to struggle on your 17 pound or your 8 kilo. Like
would
they
and
just,
do they shimmy on the drop?
I think a
Yeah,
little bit,
interesting.
this is one of the keys, one of the hard things to produce in a lure. But yeah,
Grams, that's about right. No, that'd be a good sink rate for a lot of the water I fish.
yeah.
Mm,
And then
awesome.
obviously they're at fishing.com. They've got all the favorites there, including the Daiwa spikes are
Mm,
available there, which we just took out Gippsland and the OSP dunks. So there you go,
yeah,
fishing.com.au.
lovely.
Mate, I got so excited about the bivvies and they're supposed to be in today and I really wanted to have 30 packets of them to show you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I couldn't get them. So here's one of my old ones. I don't think you can get this color anymore. Just
Okay.
a nice, tiny, finesse little lure.
Yeah, yeah.
I fished this on the Gold Coast. So we were fishing, I don't remember exactly now, say 3 to 7 meters in high flow current, really deep, fast current.
Mm,
And the only way you could get those to the bottom was you'd have to throw it out and you keep peeling line out. So it's dropping on a slack line
Yep.
and letting yourself drift back with it on the current. If you stay stationary, the lure just catches up to you.
Yeah.
So you're
Okay.
drifting back and back.
Yep.
And that's how we got him to the bottom. How I got him to the bottom. I don't think anyone else was fishing him. So there you go. And that was,
That's very much how I do the lift and lift, the tea bag with the blades. I
yeah,
always move with the lure. It's incredibly important. Otherwise, as you say, the lure's either gone behind you or you have to cast too far up. And
yeah,
by the time it's on the bottom, you can't get in contact and keep it in contact as you wish and snags up a bit. So, yeah, that's interesting too.
yeah. That's interesting comparison. I remember, it's funny, it's 6 years ago now since I did that, or 5.5 years.
Yep.
And I remember having the line, like I let lots of line out because I needed it to sink. And sometimes you'd be hooking the fish almost under the kayak, same as what you're talking about. But you'd have a big, massive belly of line in the middle.
Right.
So,
Because you'd be fishing, I reckon, faster currents than I would historically.
yeah, very fast currents, like
Mm.
quite tricky.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, very exciting. Anyway, I'm
Very
going to
good.
hand it over to you for a minute. I reckon you probably got some things for us.
I tell you what I have got for you is that when I fished the comp recently on the ABT day one, I got to catch up with a couple of old buddies of mine and I haven't seen for quite some time, namely Alex Franchuk. That was nice to catch up with him and to have a bit of chat and a talk. And what I like about the comp, Steve, is that I could see the guys weren't catching a lot of fish, but their resolve and the way they attack the whole got to catch fish scenario. I was there on the day struggling, and I put myself in their shoes, and I kept thinking, yeah, it's amazing they don't get fully stressed out. I can see a lot of the anglers; they really do take it in as just another day out. They really do treat it as we're here now. Let's just have fun. Forget the stress. I'm sure they want to win the comp. Everyone
Mhm.
wants to win, and at the very least wants to catch a lot of fish. There's nothing worse than not catching fish, whether you're doing it socially or comp wise. So yeah, it's a nice little eye opener for me, and the fact that I just wonder, and I put this to you, and I turn this back on you a little too now, mate. Is in a comp, are you prepared to try different lures, or if you hear through the grapevine someone's getting him on this and that lure, do you change or do you go with what you know? How does that work during a comp? Are you prepared to explore during that scenario?
Most times, no. Most times, I'm not going to experiment with a new lure or even an old lure in a new scenario. Most of the time, I'm just fishing to what I would call my strengths. When I fished the Hobie Grand Final last year at Camden Haven, I don't know. I hadn't thrown a lot of bent minnows for a long time, and I just went, oh, I'm just going to throw a bent minnow. Threw it in, and I think it was first or second cast, got a really good fish,
Mm.
and then proceeded to have this awesome day on bent minnows. So while it wasn't my plan, I can't remember what my plan was, but it wasn't that. I'm trying to think of, there has been situations where, okay, another situation where I threw a new lure, but I haven't got one up here. I threw the Nomad. Let me just have a quick look.
Oh
Squid
yeah,
Trex
yeah, I've
lure.
seen them. Yes,
Yeah, I
yep,
threw that for the first time in the AFT comp up at Setwaya and
yeah,
was, I think, I can't remember what, you'd have to listen back to the podcast on it. I think the first cast was like a
yeah.
big tailor,
Mm.
and then the next cast was like a kilo brim and something like that. Actually, I can't remember. But if you listen back to the podcast, that was brand new lure, pull it out of the packet, throw it out, win a comp on it.
Wow.
So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, this is yeah. I got mulling over watching the boys and just seeing how and where they went, and the other thing too I took note of is that with the non-boater in the ABT, I could see them having. It's not right to say they had grief with the because they're getting snagged up and probably a lot of the non-boaters would not have fished a lot of this area. Hence, they haven't got a boat, so they don't get to, most of them. Some do. Yeah, so when I was chatting with Tony for some time, he's non-boater. He got snagged up 5 or 6 times, and now there's no change out of 5 or maybe even 10 minutes to help your non-boater out,
Mm.
and you get snagged up yourself. So there's that as well. But yeah, the APTs are a real. It's a real twist on the tournament side of things. It's because when you do the Vic Brims together, it's likely that you have both fished that same water, same
Mm.
lures, same structure, and have got the routine going. And it's almost to the point for me that I, I don't know if I'd get frustrated or I certainly wouldn't get angry, but it would be, it's just another twist in the tail. It's a
Mm.
funny one that. Interesting how that all works in the whole. It was good to fish with the guys. I haven't done that before. Fished alongside them in the APT, like 2 or 3 boats around me within casting distance, pretty much, and to watch and
Mm.
look and learn. So that was all interesting. And just to back that whole point up, nearly all of them were fishing, suspending hard bodies, except I reckon Tony threw a skimp a fair bit, and I watched him hook up 2 or 3 on that too.
Okay.
And that was important too, I think, because he was fishing what I call a fair bit of foamy water. A lot of boats had been up and back and down on this particular side, this edge. And I'm sure Tony just went, nah, I've got to throw something different. And I watched him, he was hooking more fish than me for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was another interesting thing. So yeah, a lot of these things come into play. I'm sure it's not new to the comp anglers, but for me, to see it in action, it's quite interesting. And I wasn't also, I kept thinking, normally I wouldn't go and annoy these blokes and get in their way and fish all that foamy water. I'd prefer to go on a day where no one's around. I got the joint to myself, but I was not that worried about fishing in behind 2 or 3 boats that were in front of me, and I found I wasn't hooking a hell of a lot less, or I could tell
Okay.
it was a slow day. I could
Yeah.
tell that way, and I could tell there was not a lot of big brim around. But I was happy just to grind it out along with the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole time I'm looking at Beardy way over in this lake, and I'm thinking, that swampy dog, he's up to no bloody good. And sure enough, and I hadn't seen the results. And when I got home, I sent a text message to a couple of mates and said, whatever that Beardy was up to, it can't be any good because he was gone for a long time. And then the texts come through on my phone. Guess who's leading? Six
Yeah.
kilos.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, I fished exactly where he was about 3 or 4 weeks ago with a good buddy, Anthony Havers, and we only got 1 or 2 brims. So how's that? Things can change in a small period of time.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
interesting.
Yeah. Interesting to see Tony, whether it was a skimp or a sprat or just something different. I think it's probably a smart move.
I think that will be important at BEM. I think that would be the key. Has to be, and particularly now that it's open and there's a smaller enclosed area, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure those brim get to see a hell of a lot of Z-man grubs and whatever,
Yeah.
and for good reason because they work. But at some point, I think they'll turn off it.
Well,
Could be wrong. I think every day's new and different, and yeah, brim live and work in mysterious ways. Who are we to work them out? We've only been chasing them for 20 odd years. What do we
uh,
know?
exactly. I think one of the players in Bem River could be this lure. It could well be.
There you go. Could be.
I'm scared to throw it. I think I'm going to hold on to it till Bem,
Okay.
and then I can pull it out of the weeds and do all funky stuff with it.
Beautiful. That one too, by the way, those 2 models are slow sinkers. They haven't got a lot of weight in them.
Okay.
I've rigged them up so that you can fish them in 2 to 4 foot of water.
Okay.
If you wanted to fish deeper structure, edge, rivers, or even pylons and racks or whatever, just allow for a longer sink rate. But you'll get the feel of how much they'll sink.
Yeah. I'm pretty pumped about that. And yeah, like we said before, we'll give one away. One away on the collective next time we meet, which will be the Monday after BEM. Be Monday the 3rd, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This
Probably.
week's weather is looking really good for Skippy Lakes, and the weather leading up to it, just as importantly as I've already mentioned, it's going to be pretty switched on. So not much wind, no forecast rains, any amount anyway. So looking good. And historically, March can be like that, can't it? We can get that run of stable weather, and so that's looking very promising.
100%.
Yeah,
Mate, I had a thought in getting ready for tonight. I was going through my lures and I found a lure that I haven't really thrown. I think it has been tied on, but I haven't thrown it because I've been a bit scared to throw it because it's worth $50. And
okay.
I thought I'd show it, but I also thought I'd ask you if there's any lures that you've had in your box that you haven't thrown for whatever reason. You bought it or got it. I've got another one that I had in, I'll come back to it, that I had in my box for a year or two, was given to me. And when I tied it on, it became my favorite lure. Anyway, this one is a Gancraft something craw 70. I can't quite read it.
Right. It's like a
Jointed
mini.
craw,
Yeah.
jointed craw 70. Now I reckon I've had this for 5 years.
In the box going with you.
In the box, yeah. Yeah,
It
it was in my tackle box. I take it with me.
And you keep looking at it and
I keep
pushing
looking
it
at it
away.
going, it's too much. Too much.
Oh, no. Yeah, yeah.
But I think it's got, at some point it's going to have a run, or I'm going to pull it out of the box one day and the tail will be broken off. So yeah. And look, I'll start the conversation. My good mate Stewie gave me a lure. He gave me, and this would be, I reckon it'd be 2008, 2006.
Yeah.
Gave me an NW pencil in a white mullet color. And I went, nice lure, thank you. Put it in my box, didn't use it for a year. Anyway, I was fishing down at Lake Conjola and I put it on and I just slayed the brim and whiting, but particularly brim. And you could throw it and it was just a nice little walk the dog lure.
Did it
Yeah,
last a couple of trips?
Yeah, last a couple of trips, but I ended up buying so many of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because after a while you lose them. But such a good lure.
Going back to your $50 lure, though, that was 5 years ago, mate. They're probably worth 60 now.
I don't know.
Probably even more reason not to throw. It's gone up, mate. So that's a funny twist to it, that one. Or they've run out of favour, or you wouldn't know. But that must be able to get them. It must be a Japanese lure to be that dear, and it's like a mini little swim bait, isn't it?
It is. It's exactly, yep. But you know what? They're still, I just had a look on fishing.com.au. Still available. 4.1 grams. Oh, floating. This one's suspending.
Okay.
Or sinking. I'm not sure which it is. It's definitely not floating. $50.
Good, though. $50.
$50. Haven't gone up.
If they're, you should get into it and market it and get them.
Bem River, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Bem's going to see a lot of different lures by the look of it.
Yep. Going to see some lures, and it might even see a big flathead, that lure.
Yeah. Actually, I'll guarantee you a flathead will eat that. Probably first twitch if you're anywhere near one. It's really got flathead written all over it, hasn't it?
Such a lovely looking lure.
Oh, yeah. It is pretty sexy. Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
It's got a little bib on it, is it?
No bib.
No, bibless.
No bib. It's just got a clip on the front.
Yep. Love it. Nice.
Still haven't worked out all this.
Geez,
this
I reckon
technology
perch would
stuff.
smash that. That perch would absolutely monster that estuary
I mean,
perch. And
It's
bass.
quite beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't want you to tie it on now because if it works that good, I'll have to get him.
You'll have to get him.
Oh,
Break the bank.
I'll contact Adam. He'll look after me.
Fair
Send
enough.
some down.
Fair enough.
I tell you what I've had in my box, probably, I reckon 5 years, 6 years, maybe, I'd say 5 years ago. A mate of mine, he gave me a muss. And I refused to buy them because I looked at them and thought $26 each for a muss. I think they were back then. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get my head around how throwing it. Blades were bad enough back in the day, 15 odd years ago now. I couldn't work out how they work, and I've since almost become a blade-only fisherman at times, particularly in winter. And when I was given this muss, I thought, oh, yeah, I've been meaning to buy one. I've been hearing a lot about them, but, $26, I don't know how often I'll throw them. So a good buddy, Brian Lazaro, gave me one. He said, Brett, these are bloody good lures. I said, oh, grouse. All right, thanks, mate.
Yep.
I reckon 4 years. 4 years before I put it on, and I did try it once or twice, and I didn't get a fish in the second or third cast, so I quickly wound it up and took it off. I said,
Took it off. It's no good.
it's no good. I'm not going to get snagged and lose that deer lure. So I kept hiding it away in the tackle box. And then one trip down at Holland's Landing, right behind the ramp it was, I tied it on and I ended up getting 10 fish the first time. I persevered with it. And the reason is that, yes, they were on that lure, they were eating it, and I was getting them. But the first or second lift, I could feel weight, and I thought, he's got it. And then I worked out it was quite an unusual bite because they tended to grab hold of it a fair bit but not get hooked up.
Yeah.
And I kept wanting to vibe it, Deethy, like a blade.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't. It's like the crab. When I was given crabs, even, and my mate used to make homemade crabs. He says, "Brett, don't move it. What are you doing?" I said, "Well, it's a lure." No, the crab. And so it's the same with the muss. I reckon that's in my experience. The less you
That's it.
move it, the more you catch. Whether
Yeah.
you would go with that, do you back that one up?
Yeah, with those sort of lures, yeah, I must admit, it's taken me a long while to get round to it. Even after talking to Callum and doing a great interview and like, how good are these? And then not
Yeah.
using them. But you basically throw the lure out into structure,
Mm.
is where I've been fishing it. You let it sink and a fish comes along and eats it. And you're like
Ha-
I think if it's a rock. Like it's what are you eating rocks
yeah,
for?
I call it the black rock,
Yeah.
but it's so deadly. And then, so having caught 10 fish on it the first time seriously, I quickly wound it up and put it away. Oh, jeez, these are good. I'll get more. It's all good. And then I started brainstorming about how to make them. And then I thought, hang on, it could be really easy to make them. And you've seen the results
And this is the
in my
PG
little,
one.
yeah, there it is there. So I fished the muss a couple of more. I reckon the next time I fished it, I got 2 fish on it. And when I say fish, I was getting brim high 30s. It was pretty
Yeah, okay.
special. It was bloody good fun. And yeah, the second time I reckon I caught 2 fish, and then I snagged it up and I could not get it off. And I even had to tackle back down. And anyway, I ended up busting it off. So
Oh no.
that was a bit sad. So I thought, oh, me one and only muss. So I'll just have to suck it up and buy it. Tight
Yeah.
ass Geddes, just do it.
Just do
And
it.
I haven't. I've been making, but then, yeah, Brian Lazaro, good on you, mate. Once again, he dropped off a heap of lures to me. I think I've told you, Deethy.
Yeah.
And I think I had 10 or 12 muss in there.
Oh,
He spoilt me. Oh, he's really looked after me. So,
yeah, very good. Well,
so
you're
I'll swim
set.
again. And the other
Great.
one, just quickly, was a OSP bent minnow way back.
Yeah, right.
Uh, yeah, I bought one of those, and I thought, yeah, I know how deadly these are. And I caught fish on them, more perch actually.
Hmm.
And yeah, but it took about 2 or 3 years, I reckon, to finally get me.
Yes.
I got it and I thought, oh, it's me bent minnow. I finally got one. Oh, sat in the box. Oh, and I just kept staring at it and blinking at it. And oh, not today. And not today. I'll just keep going with what I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny how those lures sit in your box for so long.
100%. I had a bent minnow, and back in the day when funds were a little bit tighter, like I couldn't go out and buy four of them. You'd buy one or two or whatever.
Mm.
And I remember having one that I'd caught, I reckon 50 or 60 fish on it. Caught a bunch of fish on it.
Would have had to change hooks a few times.
Changed hooks a few times, and that was, we couldn't, I don't think back then we could get the originals. You just put whatever we had. And I remember I gave it to Dad. I went, here, Dad. And it's a $35 lure, so he was a bit reluctant to throw it as well. And I'm like, it's all right, Dad. Look, I've caught, 50, 60 fish. I caught a lot of fish on it. If we lose it, it's been good value.
Mm.
And I remember we were fishing Lake Conjola, we're up the back in Dad's boat, which doesn't have an electric. So we're drifting down a bank, throwing at snags, and I'm braining them, and Dad's struggling. So I can't. It's like sometimes you go, I don't know what's different. Like I'm throwing it in, doing two twitches, it's getting
Oh,
smashed,
I know that is weird, that bit.
and he can't do it. Anyway, I watched him bring it back to the boat, and I saw this big flash,
Uh,
big Taylor. I like
Taylor.
pull it, and it next time the thing turned around, came
Tick.
back, and took the lure, and that was the end of it.
That
So,
was the problem with me in the OSPs because I know how deadly they are on Taylor, just
yeah,
frightful, and they just munch them. But since those early days, I've come to realise that bent lures, that- are they the best surface lure made? That's probably a subject for next time, mate.
yeah, maybe.
Because walk the dogs, really impressive, and just poppers, big disturbance and wash. But those bent minnows, oh, there's something pretty special. Right up in the top 3 or 4 of lures that I say are fair dinkum, fully deadly. Just
Yeah,
got that action of eat me. I'm so sick. You just got to eat me.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's an interesting thing. I think when I first started brim fishing, it was all about brim on poppers, and then we did walk the dogs, the NW pencils, and
Cicadas after that.
yeah, and then cicadas, and you seem to have these cycles, and certainly the cicadas. They obviously been a great year for cicadas this year.
Mm.
but for the last couple, I've struggled with them. So
Mm.
yeah, I think things definitely cycle over time. Yeah, like back in the day, we used poppers was such a big part of it. Whereas I think I
Yeah.
don't know whether anglers have changed or the bites changed or what, but we're definitely not seeing the you're not hearing people. I want to comp on a I don't know an atomic popper or something like that.
No, hardly at all. In fact, I don't know many anglers that use poppers on black brim down here. I nearly venture to say at all. A-
Yeah.
And I rate them. I really
Mm.
rate poppers on black brim, particularly from Bem and Eastwards. Even in Gippy Lakes, I've caught them on poppers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how that, but bent minnows have taken over that spot for sure. Yeah, I'm just trying to think back to the first. Yeah, walked the dog lures too. They were quite popular, smaller models too.
Yeah.
But it's not
Sugar.
it's these days I don't hear a lot about surface stuff for black bream. Certainly not in the
Okay.
comps. No one's talking
Wow.
about them in the comps down here, Gippy Lakes or anything like that. So
Interesting.
it could
Interesting.
come full circle, that thing.
I think so. The other one that goes hand in hand with those, I used to throw, I'd have a bent minnow on one rod and I'd have a sugar pen on the other.
Oh, yeah.
And I found on any given day, they'd be a little bit more in line with one or the other. And the bent minnow was funny because you'd throw it in and it'd do a U-turn in the sky.
Oh yeah.
But the sugar pen,
Yeah.
you'd throw that so far. Like a
Oh,
sugar
get
pen
distance.
70.
That's important thing too. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so yeah.
Yeah. And I do make a surface lure homemade, mate, and it's another story for another day. It was down in Tassie. I'd first time I'd been to Tassie, and I asked one of the guys in the shop there, "Do you get brim on surface lures down here?" And they, nah, it's not a thing, not down here, Brett. No. And anyway, so I didn't have any surface lures on me, but I made up a couple of different lures. They were hard bodies, and I had some foam that I glued on top of the head of the lure. Now these are fitting and fully ugly. So there's a hard body lure with a tiny little bib and a big hunk of foam on its head, glued, and you throw it out. And I put a bit of lead on the back end of it, and so I could cast it a fair way, and it'd pop across the water. And I called them Elco pops because when I made it, I reckon I'd had about 9 cans of beer. And me mate Dave Morris was with me, and he said, "Brett, that's atrocious." I said, "It's going to work, mate." And sure enough, first cast, and I got a Tassie brim on surface. They were told they don't eat surface lures, so that's another story.
Wow. Next time we'll have to see that on
Another
camera next
package.
time.
No.
Yeah, mate. Oh, I'm happy with the package, but we definitely have to see it on camera. Mate,
Okay.
speaking of packages, I did get a couple of lures in the mail from through the guys at Jabbers, and they called them mush bush.
Cool. Like it. Mush bush.
So
Sounds dirty.
it does. I couldn't work out whether it sounded dirty or I was just being silly. So
Yeah.
just this, they've got two models or a few models. This is the little one. It's a
Mush
35 mil suspending, and they've
Angelo
also got a
Fry.
sinking lure, which I think you like the sinking lures a bit.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Mush
And I
bush.
pulled this one out of the packet. I looked at that color and went, I don't know why. I just really like
Yeah.
it.
Like it. Mush
So,
bush. Where they hail from? Are these a local
mm,
maker or you're not sure?
no, they bring them into the country. They're an Australian distributor supplier.
Okay.
I think they're also known as Adrenaline Outdoors. I forgot. There's a special for brim fishing project people.
Beautiful.
If you use promo code BREM, BREAM, get 10% off.
Lovely.
So
Mm.
I'm thinking about doing a practice run for BEM down at St George's Basin and giving those a
Oh,
throw. They
in
look like
shallower water, like identical to Bem.
yeah, they look like that looks like even color wise, it looks like a brim lolly, a little brim jelly bean.
Nice. Yep.
So yeah. So
And
that's
different lure, different action. Sometimes that can count for a lot in the heavily fished water. And there'll be 100 anglers, are there, registered, I think?
I don't
Hobie
know. I
wise, do you
haven't checked
know?
the numbers. Haven't
No,
checked
I
the
haven't
numbers.
looked.
But they'll be
80 at
close to
least.
100. There'll be
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's 70 for Gippsland, so there'll be at least 70.
Oh,
I
right.
I reckon there'll be 100.
Yeah.
So
I'd say so. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that's pretty exciting. I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, Deethy. Gippy Lakes, it's had a couple of days rest now from the tail end of the ABT boys and gals.
Yeah.
And it's been good weather for a couple of days. I could be sending you a little bit of fish porn in the next few days, mate. Take a
Ooh.
couple of little video clips that I often sent you.
I haven't had a video for a little while.
You haven't, and you're
Yeah,
due.
I'm.
Yep.
I would say I'm definitely due, mate.
Yeah, I
There's one
shouldn't moz myself, but I'm looking forward to it.
100%, mate. There's one more thing that I do need to cover off on, and that is underwater sports.
Yep.
So basically, if you're in the market for a new fishing kayak or looking to make some upgrades to your existing kayak, or possibly looking at fishing kayak fishing tournaments, then HWS is the place to go. They have a full range of Hobie kayaks and stock the latest kayak accessories and are really dialed in when it comes to the best kayak fishing for the casual fisher and the tournament angler. HWS.com.au online or in store at 3 Shop 3 Stroke 638 Pacific Highway, Belmont. Free delivery on Hobie kayaks across all Greater Sydney, Central Coast, and Hunter. Now, I just put up on the screen there the Hobie links. There has been, can you see that or not
Yeah.
yet? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
$500 off. 400. Yeah.
yeah. There has been a definite trend towards this style of kayak. It's just because it's lightness and but it's quite fast off the line, and the position of the rudder makes this thing turn really fast in compared to a lot of other kayaks where the rudder might be a little bit more forward. So yeah, I reckon that's definitely an option for someone there if weight's an issue or you want to carry. They stack quite well as two kayaks as well. So
Easy
there you go.
transportable and light for even aged challenged people like myself, and even
Yeah.
height challenged people like
Yes.
myself. It easy to manage and move around. Yeah, that's interesting. I know
Like
they're getting very popular, the links.
yeah, and super stable. Like I'd say,
Mm.
I don't know how you measure stability, but compared to the whole range, this is one of the most stable ones. And because of your seat position, you can also stand up quite easily. So you
Mm.
pair this up with a power pole on the back, which is ready mounted, just ready to screw on. You got yourself a great little fishing kayak. So there you go, hws.com.au. There you have it.
There you have it. And Deethi, before you wind me up, my record of the month is none other than my most favourite, Neil Young. He's my, see, I'm showing my age again. I think that was his very first album, 1969, Deethi's.
1969. I don't even remember that. It wasn't here.
Yeah, I was I reckon I was born an era too late. I reckon I should have grown up with these guys and all that. But anyway, I've been lucky. Neil Young still going today at 77. He's got about 50 albums.
And
Yeah,
favorite,
I
what's your favorite song off the album if you can only play one?
Oh, favorite album. I think, I forget the first track. Actually, you've put me on the spot there. It's not my favorite album of all time, but The Loner, I think's on that one too. So that's one of my favorite songs. Yeah,
All
music's a
right.
big part of my life anyway, still to this day. I mean, I tend to live in the past, Ethan. It's all
Ah,
Dire Straits and old stuff and Bob Dylan,
yeah,
that sort of stuff. Yeah.
fair enough. I do. I don't mind a bit of. I probably like them more now than what I did when they were more
Mm.
popular, which is interesting.
Yeah, I like guitar orientated music, so that's why I like Joe Walsh out of the Eagles. I actually met Joe Walsh out of the Eagles. He came over to play with the Party Boys many years ago, and I got to sit down and have a beer with Joe Walsh out of the
Nice.
Eagles. So that's my claim to fame, meeting someone, quite famous.
Yeah.
So that was good. But I do
Very.
digress. Back to fishing stories, and that'll be tomorrow.
Yep.
And I'm geared up, ready to go. And I won't be far out of bed, Deethy, to get up early.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You're
Fair
going to
enough.
have to wind me up, mate. I've got to get out of bed.
We're nearly done. Yeah. The timing on this episode, it's going to be a day after we have our collective meeting.
Okay.
I would expect.
Yep.
So somebody is going to be getting one of these, one of these hard on softs
Before they even see it.
before they even know it's a thing. So everyone else will have to follow on later to find out who took that home.
I look
Yeah, I
forward to
can't wait.
hearing
I
some
can't wait to,
feedback down the track.
yeah, yeah, I
Mm.
can't wait to give it a run.
I have to
Um,
really get into Mr. Nord's ear. If I can get Hurricane to release a hard on soft, I just get, yeah, I can only dream. The packaging alone will have to be pretty special. It's because the lure's that ugly. You have to pretty something up.
yeah, fair enough. And you
The
could
heart,
you could tell him it's got to be really cheap, Peter, because it's only half a lure.
that's it too. That's a fair comment.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. We could put a skimp on the back.
you could put a skimp on the back. I
Yeah.
think that would be very good.
You wouldn't See, or you could just leave the back vacant and you do what you got to do to the back end.
Yep, I think so. I think so. Sorry, while I was looking across the desk there, I forgot one of the things that Jabba sent me. So
Oh,
they
what
sent
else
me
did
this
you get?
little, I don't know what you call it, slicer. I don't know what, I can't think of what to call it.
It's a little lure too.
But I was just wondering, so sometimes when you're fishing a comp, you've got to travel a long distance, and sometimes it's slow, and you're just pedaling, pedaling, pedaling. I just wonder if at Bem River, I'll be able to throw this because I'll be able to throw it a mile, 7
Yeah,
grams. Should cast like a bullet.
it will.
Throw this in front of me while I'm
Yeah.
traveling, and
Yeah, look
just
at
let it.
that.
That'll flutter down.
Wow.
I know Chris Hickson's used similar things, like not obviously not this brand.
Okay.
Once again, I think I'm going to give that a throw at Bem while I'm
Mm.
traveling across the bay.
I
It,
can guarantee you this much detail. They would never have seen that before.
that's right, and I
And
think
the action and the weight of it and all the
yeah,
rest.
just I think it flutters quite nicely. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, it might be good. Might be good. So there you
Well,
go.
I'm gonna wish you all the luck for Ben, mate, because I won't talk to you between now and I might have a quick chat to you here or there, but all the best for Ben.
Mm,
You've obviously got some strategy already because you've won there before, so that will be foremost in your thoughts as to pretty much replicate what you've done. But will you pull out the same lure that you won the comp on?
yeah, I
You
think.
will.
Yeah, I reckon, and I can say this. I mean, not that I care about telling people, but this won't go to air before it's run.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be similar to the Euro one. Like the water's down.
Mm.
I think there'll be a lot of fish on the edges, but there'll be a lot of fish in the middle as well. And I think the tactic I used there, which was just big long drifts across the middle and across towards Mahogany's, I think it is.
Yes.
I think that'll play into it. I think the baby vibe will be good. It wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me if the bivy help catch a couple of big ones because they won't have seen that for a few years either.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my
Yeah.
thoughts.
And you've got a new special lure too that you're going to be swimming. Otherwise,
I'm
it's
definitely going
soft,
to
but
be.
yet it's hard.
It is. It is. It's a wonderful lure.
Yes, it is.
Uh,
It's a wonderful thing.
I'm itching to throw it, but I will hang on to it. The other one that may come into play, I can't think of the name of it, but this is this one out of Daiwa. So it's a much
Ah,
bigger
yeah.
lure,
Yeah.
deep diving.
Yeah.
I think the bigger profile. I think
Yep.
maybe some bigger profile lures might entice a bigger bite.
Could
So
do.
I'll have a couple of those with me.
Yeah. And that looks like a floater.
Yeah, definitely a floater. So I'll have to crank it down, or
That's
or I'll
got
put
a
some
big bib
weights
on
on
it.
it.
It's like one of Naughty's fatties. Very similar.
Bigger.
Bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. He's got
I'll
a
have a
fatty junior and a fatty senior, if you like. Yeah. So he's got
yes.
two sizes, but that's like a chubby too. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of
Okay.
a bombar lure. Bit of a
Yeah.
fatty bombar.
Fatty
So
boomba. I like it.
yeah. So,
Very
so
good.
there you go. All
Yeah.
right. Mate, is there anything else you want to cover? Is there anything else you want to cover
Uh,
in March?
no, I was going to have a bit more of a detailed report on the Gippy Lakes, but I think that's been covered pretty much in what we've discussed already. So there's not much else I wanted to delve into there, Deethy. I reckon I'm pretty much cooked for number 3.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good, mate. Well,
And
mate,
I
I've
just wish you all the best. And to the Hobie comp coming up in the Gippy Lakes. Look, this is right on my back doorstep, and I wish all the anglers all the best. And I still that the water conditions have changed, but don't be scared. I know there's quite a few guys coming down from New South. They've contacted me already,
yeah.
the collective,
Yep.
some of the guys, and feel free. That's what I did want to say. Anyone in the collective that is travelling down in the comps, and not even in the collective, I'm happy to discuss anything via messenger or even if you want to ring me up, even through messenger, fine. So I'm open to that. That's more than happy to
Oh,
help.
very good.
And because I do know the waters pretty well.
Yeah. 100%. I so wish I was coming down. Maybe next time. I think if they have a good comp here, I think you'll see it as a grand final or an Australian Championship destination.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Grouse. Yeah.
That's just pure speculation, though. No,
Yeah.
no
Well,
insider knowledge on that at all.
sponsored by Hurricane. I wish everything to go so well, and I'm sure it will. I think too that it will have settled down a lot. So again, I do push that little issue that don't be scared about the. We got significant rains, and it has played a little bit of havoc in the recent ABT, and I'm sure that will come out in the wash. I know Owen Pearce, for one, he was hanging his head on fishing that area, and he just couldn't catch. He said it was really tough, Brett. Someone so experienced as that tells me that the conditions were pretty tough. But there's another probably near 2 weeks or a week and a bit anyway,
Yeah,
that has transpired. It'll be interesting to see. I'll be watching the weigh-ins with a lot of anticipation.
exactly. And by the time we come around to next month, we're going to have done a whole bunch of comps. Like the two Hobies will be run, ABTs will be finished. Like there's going to be a lot
Yeah,
going on at the end of March. The New South Wales tournaments will have run theirs. We'll have heard from Vic Brim, the West
yeah.
Oz. Like there's a lot going on starting March. So
And I heard Steve Morgan just today. I was watching a little bit on YouTube. There's a lot coming up in Gippy Lakes as well
yeah,
into the future. So it's a big calendar for my little big system.
that's it. No, it's a very big system.
It
And
is.
then one thing I did see with Morgo today is I think he said the grand final for them is a day on
It's
day.
broken up into two different arenas, isn't it?
Is
Or
it
three?
Marlow and Bem?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Marlon. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
Cool.
everyone will be paying attention to see what's happening down at Bem.
Mm,
So yeah. All right,
very good.
mate.
Righto,
I want
mate.
to thank you for coming on the show again, and mate, I look forward to next month, and look forward to having to talk to you in the collective.
Very good. Okay. Thanks for that, Deethy, and tight lines at BEM.
Thanks, mate, and I'll talk to you next month.
Okay. Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.